Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I appreciate it very much. I had made a request to have this this hearing and another one before this after the House had their skimmer hearing. Because my concern, Mr. Chairman, everything you said is true, but the general public is just not aware of it. And the crisis that we're facing right now. Over the last 5 years, the significant cuts to our national security spending have forced our men and women to endure steep and damaging drop in capabilities and readiness. We'll have a chance to talk about this, incidentally, during the questions. Our naval fleet is at a historical low level. Air Force, the smallest in its history. The Army may shrink to a force we haven't seen since the turn of the 20th century. As our security is being threatened by terrorism, the rising China and rogue nations like Iran, North Korea, the men and women charged with protecting this nation are being undermined and forced to endure devastating cuts to the tools that they need to keep America safe. We've been told that over the next 3 years, as much as $150 billion in sequester cuts will be taken from accounts used to make sure that our military men and women are better trained and equipped. We'll show that with these charts. I know some Americans are wondering why this matters, and these cuts may affect their everyday lives if they really do. And the simple reality is that the world around us is not getting any safer. I've often said that recently, you know, I look back wistfully at the days of the Cold War. We had things that were predictable, and that's not the case anymore. You have rogue nations that have the ability to, and developing the ability to have weapons of mass destruction and a delivery system, and we know that's happening. It's just something that hopefully this hearing will bring this to the attention of the American people. The tide of war isn't receding. It's America's leadership, trust in American security partners, and our ability to protect this country that's receding. We're already seeing the effects of an absent America. We're at a point where our allies don't trust us and our enemies don't fear us. As America retreats from its role as a global leader, we'll have more failed states like Syria and Libya as breeding grounds for terrorism. We'll have more brutal dictators like Kim Jong-un acquiring weapons of mass destruction, and more aggressive adversaries like China attempting to bully our partners in the South China Sea, but we'll have fewer options of how to deal with them. And this is why I'm so troubled with the disastrous path that we're on in the face of the mounting threats to America. We're crippling our military, the very people who are vital to our security, and our military leaders use the term hollow to define the forces of the future. The chairman of the Joint Chiefs warned us that continued national security cuts will, and I'm quoting now, severely limit our ability to implement our defense strategy. It will put the nation at greater risk of coercion, and it will break faith with the American people. I think another quote that I carry with me is one that Admiral Winnefeld, our #2 person in the overall military that we have, he said, there could be a time, for the first time in my career, this is Admiral Winnefeld, instances where we may be asked to respond to a crisis and we'll have to say that we cannot. This faith is sacred to me. Our nation relies on a small part of our population to volunteer to risk their lives on our behalf. The faith is being threatened by a growing divide between security our nation expects and the resources being provided them to give us that security. Our witnesses testified before the House in September about the potential of not having the readiness and capabilities to succeed in even one major contingency operation. Now, that's something that all of us assume, and most Americans assume, that we still could defend against 2 MCOs. And it's just not true. And the fact that if we have to go through with this sequestration, we may not be able to do even one. And that's why it's so important that we hear from you folks that have the credibility to make sure that American people understand this. Well, I think about peace obtained through strength. We know that Ronald Reagan's probably rolling over in his grave right now, seeing what's happened to the military strength of this country. So that's what this hearing is all about, Mr. Chairman, and I look forward to this being an opportunity for all of us at this table to use the information that comes from this hearing to make America aware of the problems that are facing us. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you so much, Senator Inhofe. General